300 players entered the apocalypse with superpowers. 200 are dead. 99 are begging in the global chat right now, offering their organs, their teams, their souls, all for a single word password. And the last guy, the one they all laughed at for picking a coin, is dipping beef tripe into a pot of beef tallow hot pot. That guy is me, Hanjin, player 99. They said cash was trash at the end of the world. Cute theory. Shame they had to test it with their own lives. Because here's what 300 so-called geniuses missed. While they were fist fighting over laser eyes and mind control, the end of the world was still 12 months away. 12 months where money wasn't paper. 12 months where money was God. Grab a seat. Let me tell you how I bought the apocalypse and how every single person who laughed paid full price. The system killed us first. That's the part nobody talks about. 300 people, 30 countries, one identical Tuesday morning, a stranger tapping you on the shoulder in a subway, a brake pedal that suddenly goes soft, a tuna sandwich that had one bad hour. I got mine on a crosswalk, green light, middle of the intersection, something silver, something loud, and then nothing. I woke up in a white room with 299 other confused people, and a voice from the ceiling that sounded like a customer service line for the afterlife. You are dead. Congratulations. Welcome to the extinction protocol. I turned to my left, and there was my class monitor, the guy who used to correct the teacher's Korean, Kang Tae-ho, still wearing his stupid glasses, still smiling like he was about to be voted class president of purgatory. To his right, our class beauty, Seo-yeon, the girl every guy in our year sent secret Valentine's chocolate to, including me, and every girl in our year quietly hated. Her mascara wasn't even smudged, because some people die photogenic. The voice kept going. 299 of you died from unrelated causes. One of you died on a crosswalk. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you buy in the next 60 seconds. A shelf materialized in the center of the room, long, white and glowing, like an Apple store, designed by God's angry brother. On the shelf were superpowers, little orbs humming with color, labels floating above each one. Fire manipulation, ice manipulation, gravity control, mind control, telekinesis, blade generation, and much more. Every anime power you ever pretended to have on a school playground. In a glass case, one per customer. 300 formerly dead people lost their minds. The stampede was instant, beautiful, in a Darwin Award kind of way. A guy in a business suit tackled a nun for lightning. A 12-year-old kid, I'll be honest, I feel a little bad about, got elbowed in the throat over fire. Tae-ho didn't fight. Tae-ho glided. He walked up to the mind control orb with the confidence of a man who had already mind controlled the crowd into moving out of his way. He turned to Seo-yeon, held up his glowing orb like it was an engagement ring. Yoni, let's pick something that'll keep us both alive. Seo-yeon smiled, reached past 6 other orbs, and picked the one labeled power of love. I want you to understand something. In a room where the correct move was, grab whatever kills zombies fastest. This woman picked a power whose entire mechanic is, make everyone want to date me. That's not a strategy. That's a personality disorder with a UI. She held it up as it sparkled, and of course it was pink. With true love protecting me, she said, even the zombies will love me. I can't die. I looked at these two. I looked at the shelf, now picked clean like a Black Friday electronics aisle. And then I looked at the very back corner, where nobody was looking, because nobody looks at the back corner of anything. There was one item left, a single gold coin, sitting on a black velvet pillow, under a spotlight that nobody had bothered to turn off. The label above it said, and I quote, endless wealth. I walked over, picked it up, and slipped it in my pocket. Tae-ho saw me do it. Tae-ho laughed, loud from the diaphragm, the kind of laugh you only produce when you truly believe you have just witnessed the dumbest decision in human history. Jin, buddy, it's the end of the world. What are you gonna do? Tip the zombies. Seo-yeon giggled behind her hand. The whole room turned. 298 faces, all doing the same math, all landing on the same answer. This guy is our first casualty. Somebody in the back yelled, bet you $1 player 99 dies first. Somebody next to him yelled, that's the only dollar he's ever gonna see. The room roared. I didn't say anything. I just closed my fist around the coin, because here's what I already knew, and what none of them had bothered to read. The system had a fine print, and the fine print was about to make me the richest god of a dying world. The system spoke again. Even it sounded amused. All players have been assigned starting powers. You will now be returned to Earth. Apocalypse mode will activate in 12 months. Only one player will survive. Only one player will be revived. All others will be permanently deleted from the record of the living. You know that sound in a movie theater when the twist hits and everyone forgets how to breathe. Multiply that by 300. Every alliance that had formed in the last 5 minutes, dead in the eyes. Every friendship that had been a friendship for 13 years of school, dead in the eyes. Because only one survives, doesn't leave room for classmates. Tiho recovered first, because of course he did. He turned to the room and did the thing every ambitious mediocre guy does when he smells power. He made a speech. Everyone listen. 12 months is a long time. We should organize, alliances, structure, and somebody has to lead. Nobody has to lead you, Tiho. That was me. First words I spoke in the whole room. Tiho turned. His smile did that flicker it does when someone doesn't respect him fast enough. Excuse me. You just heard the rule, I said. Only one wins. You're not organizing a team. You're organizing a menu. The room went quiet in that specific way rooms go quiet. When somebody says the thing everybody was already thinking. Tiho recovered. He always recovers. He looked me dead in the eye and smiled a smile that had zero warmth in it. You know what, Jin? You're right. It is every man for himself. He tapped his temple with 2 fingers, miming his new power. So when I win, and I will win, I'll make sure to spend your coin on something nice. A statue, small one, bronze. Seo Yeon laughed like it was the funniest thing she'd ever heard. She had a laugh like a chandelier being polished, and everyone in the room memorized it. The system spoke one last time. Deploying, the white room disappeared. And this is where the story really starts, because everybody else opened their eyes in a random alley, in a random city, in a random country, with their new superpower and no plan. I opened my eyes in the exact same place I died. Same crosswalk. Same green light, same intersection. Except this time, my phone had a new banking app on it. No name, no branding. Just a black icon with a small gold coin. I opened it. The balance line read, Infinity. I stood on that crosswalk for a full minute, staring at that symbol. And then I started laughing, because I knew, in that exact moment, what nobody else had figured out. The apocalypse wasn't for 12 months, which meant for the next 12 months, the world still ran on money, and I had just been handed the only bank account in human history that couldn't be overdrafted. Let me explain the rule everyone else missed. Because they didn't miss it because it was hidden. They missed it because they were too busy fist-pumping about laser eyes to read. The system's fine print, buried in the terms of the game, said this. And I'm paraphrasing because system terms are always written by someone who hates humans. Powers are considered game assets. Currency of the origin world is considered game asset. All game assets remain functional at their standard real-world value until apocalypse mode activates. The system does not restrict the accumulation, spending, or leveraging of any pre-existing real-world assets during the preparation period. Translation in human. For 12 months, my coin was a fully funded, world-recognized, spend anywhere cannot be refused, infinitely refillable bank account, and I could buy anything the pre-apocalypse world was still selling, which was everything. Every player who picked fire had a party trick. I had a debit card that could buy Portugal. Now, some of you are already asking the good question. If the coin's balance is infinity, and I spend $1 trillion, does the world just notice? Doesn't infinite money break the global economy in a week? Yes, eventually, but here's the thing. Superpowers had just been introduced to Earth 200 and 99 other places at the same time. Governments were about to be way too busy trying to figure out why a security guard in Manila could set doors on fire to notice that some Korean kid was buying container ships at 3 a.m. Also, and this is important, I wasn't stupid enough to make it obvious. I moved through 84 shell companies. I bought under NPC names. I hired NPC lawyers to hire NPC accountants to hire NPC assistants to sign NPC paperwork. The trail didn't lead to Jin. The trail led to a hedge fund named after a Latin word for future, and a Cayman address that didn't exist. Meanwhile, on the global player chat, a chat that opened the second we all got teleported back, Tiho was busy being Tiho. Player 100 Kang Tiho. Everybody form up. Regional captains report in. We need a hierarchy. Player 47. Who died and made you king? Player 100. I did. Literally yesterday. Player 216. LMAO. I muted the chat. I had a coin to spend. I opened a laptop in a Seoul hotel room and started buying the apocalypse. Step 1. Pick a location. I pulled up the world map, and did the math. Not on a fault line, not in a hurricane corridor, not near a volcano, far enough from any mainland that a superpowered player couldn't just walk over. Big enough for an airstrip. Small enough that I could see every inch of it from one control room. I found her in the middle of the Pacific, a tiny green oval, no airport, no cell tower. Population, 43, mostly seagulls. The island had a name in the local language that meant something poetic about tides. I didn't care. I bought it and I renamed it something that mattered to me. Murray Island, meaning future in Korean, because that's what I was buying, not property. The future. Every last minute of one. Price tag, $2.1 billion US. I paid it in one wire transfer. The bank called me to confirm. I told them it was a tourism project. The bank believed me. The bank always believes you when the wire clears. The class monitor was in a group chat trying to convince player 47 to be his lieutenant. I was $1 billion into building Noah's Ark. Guess which one of us the algorithm was about to sort into winner. Here's the thing about being the richest man in a world that's about to end. Nobody asks why. A billionaire buying private islands in 2026. Not news. A billionaire buying 100 container ships. Tuesday, a billionaire quietly purchasing 400 tons of canned goods, 200 desalination units, and a decommissioned Soviet-era submarine through 5 layers of shell corporations. That apparently is just a Tuesday for a guy whose net worth column reads infinity. I kept my head down. That's the part the loud guys never understand. While Tiho was on the global chat posting motivational manifestos about player solidarity, which, fun fact, is what you say right before you backstab someone. I was in a converted Seoul high-rise, paying NPC architects a 10,000% bonus to design something that didn't officially exist. I bought 10 cruise ships, decommissioned, repainted, stripped of their tracking hardware, filled them with concrete, steel, food, medicine, generators, and enough weapons to make a small nation very nervous. I bought a satellite company. Yes, an entire satellite company, because why rent someone else's eyes when you can own the sky? I bought a submarine, a plane, a helicopter, an island supply chain, a staff of private contractors who signed NDAs so thick they could stop a bullet. And all of it, every single wire transfer, every truck convoy, every cargo manifest was paid for with a coin that cost me 0. You want to know what the best part is? The whole time I was smiling, because in 12 months, every single one of those powers was going to be useless in a flood, useless in a plague, useless in a famine, and my coin was going to be sitting on an island, sipping imported coffee, watching them try to set the ocean on fire. 12 months, 300 players, one bank account that never runs dry. TikTok, let me show you what money can build in 12 months when the builder isn't worried about going broke. Murray Island wasn't a bunker, it was a civilization. On the surface, a fake luxury resort, palm trees, infinity pool, a fake helipad for the helicopter I never actually needed. All of it camouflage. The kind of camouflage that makes a billionaire's tax shelter look like amateur hour. Underneath the real island, 5 stories of reinforced underground construction, rated for a magnitude 12 earthquake and a direct nuclear strike. 12 independent life support zones, each one self-sustaining. 3 automated farms growing rice, vegetables, fish, and chickens, under full-spectrum light that costs more per hour than your rent. 10 years of food, 10 years of medicine, enough water purification to turn seawater into champagne. Okay, not literally champagne, but you get the point. Energy, 5 nuclear reactors, 2 running, 3 on standby, wind turbines on every ridge, tidal generators in every current, solar panels disguised as rocks. I had hand-cranked generators for the worst-case scenario, where literally everything else failed. The walls were 5 meters of titanium alloy and specialized concrete. The secret passages were mazes. The maze passages had traps. The traps had backups. The backups had backups. I bought a private military contractor company, not to fight anyone, but to train the NPCs I'd hired to guard the island. Every single one of them was paid enough to retire a king. Every single one of them signed a loyalty clause, enforced by a legal team I bought from a Swiss law firm that has never lost a contract dispute. And the defenses, oh the defenses, artificial reefs around the island, disguised as natural coral. Any ship that got too close hit the reef and sank. I had radar systems that could detect a seagull with a grudge. I had electric grids in the sky to stop birds from landing, and steel nets in the water to stop anything with fins from swimming over. I had a private army of robots patrolling the surface, programmed to politely, but firmly turn away any unauthorized visitors. And by politely, I mean with a warning shot. And by firmly, I mean the second shot doesn't warn. The global player chat, meanwhile, was a circus. Player 100 Kang Tiho. Everyone, I have organized regional captains. We will maintain order. Player 47. You literally cannot even make friends. How are you gonna maintain order? Player 216. Elo Lalo. Player 101. Sioyon. Tiho Opa is so brave. 2 hearts. Player 200. Bro, she picked power of love. Of course she thinks that. I didn't post, not once. Silence is a weapon when you're building something that doesn't need defending. The players spent 12 months training their powers. I spent 12 months building a fortress that made the Pentagon look like a treehouse. The players spent 12 months arguing about who would lead. I spent 12 months learning how to fly a nuclear submarine. The players spent 12 months making enemies. I spent 12 months making sure I'd never have to. Apocalypse mode activated exactly 12 months later. The system's voice, cold, polite, and completely devoid of mercy, echoed across the entire planet. Apocalypse mode has begun. Stage 1, Great Flood. Survival rate to be determined. The sky opened. It wasn't rain. Rain is water falling from clouds. This was the ocean trying to climb back into the sky. 3 months of it, non-stop. The kind of downpour that makes biblical floods look like a drizzle. Every single player who had spent 12 months learning to punch harder suddenly realized you can't punch the rain. The players who had built underground bunkers, which, credit where due, was smart, watched their bunkers become swimming pools. The water didn't care about their reinforced walls. Water doesn't negotiate. Water just wins. The players who had trained on rooftops watched their rooftops become diving boards. The players who had formed alliances watched their alliances dissolve faster than the sugar in the rain. And on Murray Island, population, me. I was having hotpot, beef tripe, napa cabbage, enoki mushrooms, a broth I'd been aging for 8 months, a cold beer from a fridge that cost more than most players' entire power sets. I sat there, cross-legged in my pajamas, watching the world drown on 147 live camera feeds. And I dipped that tripe. I'm not going to pretend I felt good about it. Actually, no, I'm going to be honest. I felt great about it because I had spent 12 months being laughed at, being called an idiot, being told that in the apocalypse, cash is just waste paper. Well, the paper was waterproof, and the cash bought me a seat at the only table in the world that wasn't underwater. The global chat was a horror show. Player 47. MY underground base is flooding. Somebody help. Player 88. I can't swim. I train strength 412 MONTHS. I can't swim. Player 150. Does anyone have food? I'll trade MY power. I'll trade anything. Player 100 Kang Tiho. Everyone stay calm. We will get through this together. Player 200. TAHO shut UP. You're in a high rise. Some of US are drowning. Player 100 Kang Tiho. I am in a secure location. I have organized a council. We will. Player 47. I hope your council FLOATS. I watched the player count. 300, 299, 298. The gray names started rolling in like credits at the end of a very sad movie. By the end of the first week, 287 players left. By the end of the first month, 254. By the end of the third month, when the rain finally stopped, 209. 91 players had drowned, starved, or been crushed by their own collapsed bunkers. And I hadn't lost a single cucumber. I know how that sounds, I know, but I didn't kill them. The flood did. The system did. The players' own choices did. I just made a better choice at a shelf 60 seconds after death. There's a difference between being cruel and being correct. The players didn't see it that way. They saw a guy with a coin-eating hotpot while they swam in sewage. And when the floodwaters finally receded, and the sun came back out, and 209 players stood on wet, ruined land looking at each other, with the hollow eyes of people who had spent 3 months realizing superpowers were useless against weather. They remembered the coin, and they remembered me. Player 47, player 99 is a billionaire. He has shelters, find HIM. Player 88, he's been living in luxury while we drown. Player 150, find 99, take his island. Player 100 Kang Tiho. Everyone calm down, we need a plan. Player 200. Your plans got us here, TAHO. I watched the chat fill with rage and desperation, and the kind of entitlement that only comes from people who were too lazy to read the fine print. And then I did something that, in hindsight, was either the smartest or the most evil thing I did in the entire game. I offered them shelters. I built 4 emergency shelters, beautiful ones, high ground, fully stocked, steel reinforced, 20-person capacity each. I posted the passwords in the global chat, and then I watched 209 players tear each other apart for 80 spots. I didn't make them fight. I didn't force them to kill each other. I just gave them a choice and a deadline. Humanity did the rest. Player 58 got in first, live-streamed himself eating steak and drinking wine inside, while 200 people outside clawed at the walls. He said, and I quote, "Being rich is awesome." He was right, it was awesome. For about 6 hours, because the shelter had a capacity of 20, and 209 people wanted in. The math was never going to work, and I knew it, and they knew it, and they killed each other anyway. By the time the doors sealed, 43 players were dead outside the shelter walls, not from the flood, but from each other. The player count dropped from 209 to 166, and in the global chat, one name finally spoke up with something other than rage. Player 100 Kang T. Jin, I know you can see this. We should talk. I almost laughed. Player 100 Kang T-ho. We're classmates. Our numbers are adjacent. If we team up, we can definitely make it to the end. Player 100 Kang T-ho. I have mind control. You have resources. We'd be unstoppable. Player 100 Kang T-ho. Just reply. I know you're reading this. I looked at my hotpot. I looked at the chat. I looked at the 166 remaining players, trying to figure out how to survive a world that had already ended once and was about to end again. And I typed back, Player 99 Han Jin, you exposed me to the crowd. You laughed at my coin. You told the whole world to find me and take my island. And now you want to team up. Player 99 Han Jin, T-ho. I've been planning this for 12 months. You're 12 months too late. Player 100 Kang T-ho. I underestimated you. Player 100 Kang T-ho. But you underestimate me. I'm not the same guy from the classroom. I have an army now. I have power. Player 99 Han Jins. You have a power that only works if you're looking someone in the eye. I'm on an island you'll never find. You're a king with no kingdom, T-ho, and I'm the guy who owns the board. I closed the chat. The shelters were full, the survivors were huddled, and the flood was over. But the apocalypse was just getting started. The flood ended. The zombies began. The system didn't even give them time to dry off. Stage 2, Zombie Plague. Note, zombies are not the primary threat. The living are. I almost felt bad for the NPCs. Almost. The virus didn't just kill, it reanimated. And in a world where 209 players had just spent 3 months fighting over canned beans, the zombies weren't the problem. The problem was the players who realized they could use their powers to take what the zombies hadn't already destroyed. The world split into factions overnight. T-ho Player 100 mind-controlled his way into a military base. Not a small one. A full base, tanks, helicopters, soldiers who suddenly thought T-ho was their beloved general and would follow him into hell itself. He posted about it, of course. Player 100 Kang T-ho. I have secured the Eastern Military District. We have food, weapons, and order. Join us. We are the last hope of humanity. Player 88. TAHO, you're controlling their minds. That's not hope, that's a cult. Player 100 Kang T-ho. It's called leadership. Player 88. You wouldn't understand. Seoyeon Player 101 did something worse. She found the zombie king. Yes, there was a zombie king, a mutated zombie that had eaten enough ability users to gain powers of its own, intelligence, strength, and apparently a romantic side. Seoyeon used her power of love on him, and it worked. Player 101 Seoyeon. Everyone, I'd like to introduce my partner, the new ruler of this world, Two Hearts. Player 47. SHE's dating a zombie king. Player 200. That's not a power, that's a mental illness. Player 101 Seoyeon. Jealousy is ugly. My love protects me. You should try it sometime. Oh wait, you can't, you're not lovable. The woman was living in a castle made of bones, being serenaded by a zombie that used to eat people. And she had the audacity to call other people unlovable. And Player 128 Beak Dajun, the gravity user, went a different route entirely. He didn't join a faction. He became a faction. He flew to the most chaotic country on the planet, the kind of place where the government is a suggestion and the gangs run the streets. And he used gravity manipulation to turn every gang leader into his personal puppet. Within a month, he had an army of criminals, all armed, all loyal, all terrified of what happened when Dajin decided you weighed too much. 3 factions, military, zombie, gang, and 1 island in the Pacific with a guy eating hotpot. I watched them posture. I watched them threaten each other. I watched them all without exception forget about the guy with the coin, because in their minds the game had changed. It wasn't about preparation anymore. It was about power, and power meant superpowers, and superpowers meant they were finally the main characters. They were wrong, but they were about to learn that the hard way. Player 100 Kang T. Jin, I know you're watching. My army grows every day. Seo Yon has the zombie king. Dajin has the gangs. You're alone on that island. How long can you last? Player 101 Seo Yon, Jin Appa tilde, you look so lonely on your little island. Why don't you come join us? My king would love to meet you. 2 hearts. Player 128, Beak Dajun. Your money can't buy you out of this. Player 99. Surrender your resources and I might let you live. I read every message. I didn't reply. I just looked at my satellite feed, watched them argue about who was going to conquer whom first, and smiled because while they were playing King of the Hill, I was holding the deed to the entire board. 3 factions, 3 delusions, 1 island. The game was about to get interesting. The system looked at 3 warring factions, a zombie empire, and 166 remaining players, and decided the game needed to move faster. Stage 3, Frozen Continent. The temperature dropped 40 degrees in a week. The blizzard that hit Murray Island was the kind of cold that kills power lines, crushes roofs, and turns tropical paradises into ice sculptures. My aerial grid died first, then the wind turbines, then the tidal generators. The nuclear plant in the basement didn't even flicker. This is what the loud guys never understood about my coin. They bought powers. I bought redundancy. Power users have one trick. I had 5 reactors and a staff of engineers. The gangs cracked first. Dajin's empire of stolen supplies ran out in 6 weeks because it turns out that when your entire economy is rob the civilians, you run out of civilians. His players started dying. Then they started defecting. Then they started dying faster. And that's when I sent Dajin a private message. Player 99, Han Jin. I want to make a deal. Player 128, Beak Dajin. What could the richest corpse in the Pacific possibly offer me? Player 99, Han Jin. A cure for the zombie virus. Let me tell you about my science team. Month 2 of prep. I'd quietly relocated 40 of the world's best virologists and genetic engineers to Murray Island. Their families got relocated to a very nice, very undisclosed, very paid-for compound elsewhere. Their research budget was yes. The deal I offered Dajin was simple. My mercenaries would airdrop him a supply cache and a crate of the cure. He would use it to wipe out the zombie king, the one faction that could actually survive the cold indefinitely. In exchange, I'd keep his gang supplied through the freeze. Dajin tested the cure on a captured zombie. The zombie dissolved into a puddle of smoking red soup in 9 seconds. Dajin messaged me back in 4 minutes. Player 128, Beak Dajin. We have a deal. And here is the part where I need you to remember something. Remember the fine print. The terms of the game that nobody read. Here's another line from those terms. And this one's my favorite. The system does not guarantee the accuracy of any player-provided information, item descriptions, or third-party claims. Dajin read the label on the vial. The label said cure. What the vial actually contained was something my scientists called a gene key solvent. On a zombie, a reanimated corpse running on stolen genetic sequences. It dissolved the sequences. The zombie melted, exactly as advertised. On a living player, though, it did something different. It didn't kill them. That would be rude. It just quietly uninstalled their superpower. The battle was beautiful, right up until it wasn't. Dajin's army marched on the zombie king's fortress spraying blue mist like it was holy water. The horde melted by the thousand. The world chat was losing its mind. Player 47, he's actually doing it. Player 88, the zombies are dying. Diogenes a hero. Player 128, Beak Dajin. Did you see that? Player 99. Once I'm done here, I'm coming for the island. I took a sip of coffee, and then mid-charge, Dajin's gravity just stopped. The 10-ton slab of earth he was holding over the zombie king's fortress fell out of the sky and landed 6 feet short. Every player in his army who'd walked through that blue mist, which was all of them, felt it at the same time. The fire user's flames guttered out like birthday candles. The speedsters suddenly had knees again. Normal, breakable, very slow knees. The chat went silent. Then the horde, the unmelted half of the horde, turned around. Player 128, Beak Dajin, Jin. What did you do? Player 99, Han Jin. I cured the zombies. That part was real. I never said what the cure was made of. Player 128, Beak Dajin. You said it was safe. Player 99, Han Jin. I said it was a zombie cure. You heard what you wanted to hear. That's been your whole problem, Dajin. Gravity was never your real weakness. Player 99, Han Jin. Reading comprehension was. The zombie king, who, I should mention, had watched his entire army get dissolved and was in what you might call a mood, did not kill Dajin quickly. I won't describe it. The footage exists. I have it on file. I watched it once while eating dumplings, and even I put the dumplings down. Player 128 went gray. Player 122 went gray. Players 115, 131, 140, gray, gray, gray. The gang faction, the third great power of the apocalypse, was erased in one night by a label on a vial. Player count, 148. But the night wasn't over, because standing on the balcony of that bone castle, watching her kingdom get sprayed into soup, was Seo Yeon. And Seo Yeon still believed her power made her untouchable. This is the part of the story I think about more than I probably should. The power of love. The power everyone laughed at me for not picking. The power that had carried her through the flood, through the plague, straight into the bed of the zombie king. Here's what none of us knew. What she didn't know until that balcony. Her power had one condition, buried in the item description nobody reads. Power of love. All living beings within range feel unconditional devotion toward the user. Living beings. The system had let it work on the zombie king because the zombie king was, technically, a mutated player, a dead man with a living mind. A gray zone. But the horde, the rank and file dead. The system ran its classification check. Right there on that balcony, in front of the whole watching world. Classification. Horde entities are deceased. Deceased entities do not experience love. Power of love has no valid targets. I watched the feed. I watched her face as she read it. I watched her turn to the king for protection. And the king was already gone, pulled down by the remains of his own army in the chaos. Dajin's collapse had started. She ran. She made it 200 meters across the frozen courtyard before the ice under her gave way. Thin ice, meltwater from the battle. The kind of detail the universe only includes when it's writing poetry. She went into the black water, and here is the line that I have never been able to improve on. So I'll just say it the way it happened in my head when I watched the feed. A power that depends on other people's love only works if anyone's left who can love you. Player 101 went gray. Player 100 Kang T. Jin, that was you, all of it, the cure, the timing, Dajin, the king. Player 100 Kang T-ho. You erased 2 factions without leaving your chair. Player 99 Han Jin. 3. Player 100 Kang Tiho. What? Player 99 Han Jin. Yours is next. Check the date, Tiho. I've been counting down for a year. He went quiet after that, for a while, because Tiho was doing math now. Military faction, his. Players left, 131. The gang's gone. The zombies, a headless horde eating itself. The ice, killing 10 players a week. And Jin untouched, unfought, unfindable. Which brings me to the photo. New Year's Eve. The apocalypse was 14 months old. Half the world's players were dead. The other half were eating rats in frozen ruins. And on Murray Island, I was cooking dinner. Galbi, japchae, tidiakuk. Because it's not New Year's without rice cake soup. And I don't care if the world has ended, some things are sacred. I had the last broadcast of the year-end music shows playing on the big screen. I had a table set for one, with more food than a family of 8. I want to be honest about something, because this is the part of the recap where the narrator usually pretends the protagonist felt nothing. I felt it. I sat at that table, alone in a fortress under an island, surrounded by everything money can buy. And I thought about my mother's titiaka. I thought about my dad falling asleep in front of the TV every New Year's by 11. I thought about the fact that they got the news that I died on a crosswalk on a Tuesday, and that somewhere in the real world, they were setting one less plate. The coin can buy an island. It cannot buy a single chair back. So I made myself a promise at that table, out loud, to nobody. I am going to win this game. I am going to be the one who walks out. And I am going to make every single person who laughed at me watch me do it. Then I took out my phone, framed the shot, the feast, the steam, the TV glowing in the background, me smiling like a man without a care in the apocalypse, and I sent it to Kang Taeho. Taeho posted it to the world chat within 90 seconds. He couldn't help himself. Nothing radicalizes the starving like a full table. Player 47, is that a whole spread? He has a whole spread. Player 88, I ate MY boot this week. Player 150, I swear to God when I find HIM. Player 99, Hanjin, you'll find me when I want to be found. Happy New Year, everyone. Eat well. The chat called me every name in 3 languages. And Taeho was quiet and delighted because Taeho had a secret weapon, and he thought I didn't know about it. See, remember how I said I spent 12 months preparing? Part of that prep was a dossier on every single player, their powers, their personalities, their weaknesses. I'd had mercenaries and private investigators building files on all 299 of them since month 1. So I knew about Taeho's pet player, player 214. A quiet kid whose power was considered the single most useless ability in the entire game. The joke of the item shelf. He could look at any photograph and know the exact coordinates where it was taken. Useless, right? What are you gonna do, geolocate a sunset? Taeho didn't think so. Taeho collected him like a rare Pokemon. And for months, Taeho had been sending me video call requests, dozens of them, hoping I'd pick up just once so he could screenshot my face and feed it to his human GPS. I never picked up, so when my New Year's photo landed in his inbox, a high-resolution photo, geolocatable, taken on the island itself, I could practically hear him screaming with joy from 4,000 miles away. Player 100, Kang Taeho. Jin, you idiot. You absolute beautiful idiot. You just sent me your location. Player 99, Han Jin. Did I? Player 100, Kang Taeho. The photo. Player 214. I know where you are now. I know exactly where you are. I'm going to wait until you and the zombies finish each other off, and then I'm going to sail over there and take everything. Player 99, Han Jin. You're right about one thing, Taeho. You know exactly where I am. Player 99, Han Jin. Now ask yourself the only question that matters. Why would I send you that? He didn't answer. They never answer that question. That's the thing about people like Taeho. A question that threatens the story they're telling themselves just doesn't get processed. It slides off. Let me answer it for him, the way I would have if he'd asked. I knew about player 214 before Taeho did. I've known since month 3 of prep. The photo wasn't a mistake. The photo was an invitation. The system had given me a reward for the shelter round. Most eliminations, remember. And the reward was a one-time teleport. Anywhere. Instant. No travel time, no trace, no receipts. The night I sent that photo, I packed my supply caches, my drives, my research, and one very specific item from my armory, and I teleported everything to a location that isn't on any map of Earth. Because it isn't on Earth. Low orbit. A privately launched station I'd bought in month 9, registered as a luxury space tourism venture. Because in 12 months of a functioning world, money could still buy that asterisk too. The system's one cruel little joke. The teleport was one way. No ride home until the game ended. So I couldn't use it early. I could only use it exactly once, at exactly the right moment. The right moment was New Year's Eve, 30 seconds after hitting send. And the island I left behind, my beautiful Murray Island, my fortress, my 5 reactors, wasn't empty. It was loaded. I left my entire robot garrison on standby. I left the defenses live. I left every light on, every system humming, every camera broadcasting the comforting fiction that the king was home. And in the deepest chamber of the underground bunker, under 5 meters of titanium and 12 zones of life support, I left the single most expensive gift of my entire apocalypse. A warhead armed, slave to one trigger. Not a timer, not a remote. A motion sensor network calibrated to register the heat signatures of an invading army breaching the bunker door. All that was left was for Taeho to accept the invitation. And Taeho had a speech to give first. It took him 6 weeks. 6 weeks for the cold to finish thinning the herd. 6 weeks for the zombie horde, kingless and starving, to burn itself out against the military's walls. 6 weeks for Taeho to stand on the deck of an aircraft carrier. He had mind-controlled into existence and watched the world get small enough to hold in one fist. Player count 30, then 20, then 11. The stragglers went quiet or went gray. A few tried to reach Murray Island on their own. The reefs and the robots handled those without me, lifting a finger from orbit. And then there were two. System notification. 2 players remain. System notification. Player 99. Player 100. System notification. The game will conclude when 1 player remains. Tiho opened a channel to me on the world chat, publicly of course. Tiho never did anything without an audience, even an audience of corpses. Player 100 Kang Tiho. Jin, it ends now. Player 100 Kang Tiho. I've waited a year for this. I have the Pacific Fleet. I have missiles that can crack your island like an egg. I have your coordinates, courtesy of your own stupidity. Now here's my offer, classmate. Surface, surrender, kneel, and I'll make it fast. 1 order, painless. That's more mercy than you showed Daja. Player 99 Han Jin. You brought the whole fleet. Player 100 Kang Tiho. Every ship, every gun. I didn't come to siege your island, Jin. I came to stand on it when you die. Player 99 Han Jin. You know what, Tiho? That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. The missiles did their work. I'll give him that. An entire Pacific Fleet's worth of ordnance turned my beautiful island into a crater with a beach. The fake resort, the palm trees, the helipad vaporized. The surface defenses flattened. My garrison of robots died doing their jobs, and I salute every one of them. They were excellent employees. And then the bombardment cracked the bunker door. I watched on the satellite feed as Tiho himself. He couldn't resist. He had to be there. Led the landing party down the breached corridor. 200 mind-controlled soldiers in front of him. Tiho in the middle wearing a general's coat. He definitely didn't earn. Walking into my island like a conqueror touring a summer home. He reached the inner vault. He found it empty. No food, no servers, no Jin. Just a single monitor on the far wall, which turned on as the motion sensors registered the room filling up with 201 warm bodies. My face smiling. Live from orbit. Tiho, hey, before you say anything, I want you to remember something. He froze some part of him. The part that used to correct the teacher's Korean. The part that was never once wrong in 17 years of school. Finally started doing the math. Remember the photo? New Year's. The one you used to find me. His face. God, I wish you could have seen his face in 4K. I sent that photo from this room. On purpose. Player 214 did his job perfectly. You found exactly where I was. Where I was, Tiho, past tense. I've been gone for 6 weeks, and this island, my island, the one you just filled with every soldier you own. I held up my hand, in it the coin, the original, the one they all laughed at, was never my fortress. It was my bait. The motion sensors had done the math 2 seconds after his 201st soldier stepped into the vault. You don't need me to describe a nuclear detonation. You've seen movies. What the movies don't show you is the quiet, because I watched it from orbit. And from orbit, the end of Kang Tiho was a silent, perfect, gold-white flower blooming on a blue ocean. Beautiful, in a Darwin Award kind of way. System notification. Player 100 has died. System notification. 1 player remains. Congratulations, Player 99. You are the sole survivor of the extinction protocol. The victory chime played in my head. A sound I had been waiting 14 months to hear, and I floated there in the observation deck, watching the mushroom cloud drift apart over the Pacific, and I did the only thing that felt right. I laughed at Kang Tiho, who mind-controlled an army and lost to a motion sensor. I laughed at Seo Yeon, who could make anyone love her except the things that were already dead. I laughed at Baek Dajun, who could bend gravity but couldn't read a label. I laughed at 299 players, who stood in front of a shelf of godhood and fought like animals over everything, except the one thing that actually ran the world. They said cash was trash at the end of the world. They just never asked when the world would end, or who would own everything in it when it did. The system gave me my prize, by the way. The revival, a second life. The real world restored. 1 single player returned. I'm not going to tell you I didn't hesitate. Up here it's quiet, down there it's home. But before I took the ride down, the system's voice came through one last time. Cold, polite, completely devoid of mercy. Congratulations on your victory, Player 99. Your performance has been logged. We look forward to your participation in the next round. I never did find out what it meant by next, but I've still got the coin, and wherever they're playing, I'm buying in.